important for you to come down to this event?
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about it. I know Coach Painter was here a couple years ago or last year, and he talked about how cool it was and how unique of a venue it was too. So, I have roots to Champaign. My dad played tennis at Illinois. My grandfather was a professor here. My uncle still is a professor here. So when Brad asked me, I really wanted to do it. I've wanted to be more a part of Coaches versus Cancer and everything that college basketball does. I think something that maybe the game doesn't get enough credit for would be that it really has taken on kind of I think, leadership role in sports, whether it's, there's multiple different ways you can look at it, but college hoops has really been a part of raising awareness and raising money and just, doing so much for cancer stuff. So I've wanted to be more involved, and Brett asked me, and I was honored to come down here and be a part of it.
As someone who's seen this program from afar and up close the last decade or so, what have you noticed about Brad Underwood's program? What's your takeaway of what he's built?
Yeah, they win. I think that's the biggest thing, and it's been as someone that's watched from doing it from a TV standpoint and also just watching afar as a basketball fan. I think the thing that I appreciate about Coach Underwood is there's not one way to do it. They've run the spread, they've run pick and roll, they've run dribble handoff for Io, they've run ball screen stuff. It's been a lot of different ways to do it, and I think his flexibility is really fun to watch as someone that really likes basketball and likes to see different ways. I think especially with the game now, if you look at it from a pro perspective, everyone kind of plays the same way. And I think with Brad, he's been the ultimate in what is our personnel good at and how can I coach these guys up and let's play to our strengths. And it's, it kind of morphs from year to year, like where you're going. But I think that's interesting. And certainly with the current landscape of the portal, you have to be flexible. So he's won a lot of games. He's done a great job in Elite Eight, last season, and making the tournament again, getting to the second round this year. So I just really enjoy watching him play. His teams play hard, they compete, and certainly Illinois had kind of fallen to a place that was not where it was, in some of the times in their past. So he's gotten it back to where it should be.
As someone that follows college basketball, what have you noticed in the portal, first few weeks of the offseason, not just Illinois, but around the country?
I can't even lie. After the Final Four, I've kind of turned my brain off. I've seen it on Twitter some, but I haven't followed nearly as closely, and I'll have to eventually kind of look up of who is playing where. But once that horn went off in San Antonio, I was kind of like, I've disconnected a little bit. I've seen some, but I couldn't tell you. I saw the Mirkovic kid in Portland. I saw him play. Not that he's portal, but I couldn't really even tell you. So
what'd you think of him?
I honestly it's hard for big guys sometimes in all-star settings to score. And he just kept finding open areas, and those guards kept finding him. He's got a good skill set from the little I watched of what he's done overseas. But he can dribble, pass, and shoot like a lot of those Euro bigs can. And, yeah, he was just productive, which isn't always easy in those all-star settings for big guys.
On that broadcast, you guys talked about the international footprint of this program. So what do you think about that other avenue of adding talent?
Sure.
And what's meant for
Well,
Illinois?
you look at how skilled, and I think Tomislav's a great example, or Kasparas as well, like how skilled those guys are, how fundamentally sound players are that grow up in Europe. And you could get into the whole debate of are we doing this the right way in the States with the AAU culture and kind of the way that we raise our players now. But, man, those guys, they can dribble, they can pass, they can shoot, whether they're 6 foot tall or 7 foot tall. And I think that's what really stands out. And then just their experiences that they've gone through. When you've been a pro and, you've played for the FC Barcelona junior team, or like the kid that just signed at Purdue has played for Maccabi this year. I mean, that's a high level of basketball. So it's crazy that you can play in EuroLeague and then play in college, but it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. Like, could LeBron James be 45 and say, you know what, Ohio State sounds kind of good? Because it's kind of the same thing. It's, we'll see where that goes to, but certainly the experiences that those kids get overseas, you are seeing pros and you're well coached, and I think it certainly translates well to college basketball.
Robbie, what's your take on Big Ten basketball, kind of the state of it? It's been a long time since a Big Ten team won a national championship.
Sure. Yeah, I think a little bit of it is just being unlucky. Look at Purdue loses to UConn. UConn was as good as anybody. Or Michigan loses to Nova. That Villanova team was stacked. Or Illinois loses to North Carolina. Well, that North Carolina team was really, really good. So there's been some, I think, misfortune in terms of who we've had to run into. And at that point, everybody is good, right? You've got to find a way. But just, I think the biggest thing for the Big Ten, and this year was a good step in the right direction in the sense that we get 4 teams for the second weekend. And you just got to keep giving yourselves opportunities. You run into Houston, you run into Auburn from Michigan to Michigan State, you run into Florida from Maryland. Those are the big dogs right there. And we've got to get over the hump. But I think the more chances you can give yourself going 8-0 in the first round, getting 4 teams to the second weekend, that's a good start for us. And we've got to keep building on it. So it's been too long. The Big Ten is way too good to have not won since 2000.
Robbie, what do you think about the current environment in college basketball? You were a great player. You would have been making a lot of money. What do you think about that? You talked to a lot of coaches.
I guess I wear it as a badge of honor to play in the era where you could get a bagel from your school but no cream cheese because they made it a meal. But it's changed so dramatically. And I agree with Coach Altman. Like, we should have been paying the players for a long time now. But I don't think that this is probably the way we wanted to see it happen. And it's kind of been, and I thought he said it well, where if we had just been kind of doing the little things, whether it was jersey sales or a local car deal, or, if you're Caitlin Clark, you can get a Nike deal. That's fine. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. But it has become more of the pay for play, and kind of like you said, you're buying players. So it's gone from that would be taboo to that's what it is. And I'm happy the guys are making money and getting paid, but I certainly wish that they had decided this in 2006 to start it. So that would be good.
Thanks, Robbie.
Cool.